Hey you guys, it's been a while, time to do another little exercise, and I've had a very specific question from someone who deals a lot with contact information, and he had some problems, so I thought I'd make a little bit of a screencast for him, but also for you guys. You guys might be able to learn something from this as well, because what are we going to do? Like you can see here, this is basically very simple contact information. I've got a contact here with some with name, with a phone, email, address, and a pretty important thing here is that every contact can have a certain type. It's either a client, a media contact, or a prospect, and the person who's going to be using this is like an agent. I don't know exactly what it does, but I think he's like an agent for celebrities, and he has like people who need to have appointments with people from TV or from magazines. So what he needs to do is he needs to store his clients, but he also needs to store the information of media contact, that is people that work for TV or for magazines or whatever. And he sometimes might have prospects as well, which are people who might become clients in the future. So basically every single contact can be of a certain type. And in the bottom here you can see that you can have different tasks and different notes for every single client. Now a handy thing here is that some tasks might be complete and some might be incomplete, and if you want to keep this stuff a little bit organized, you can add a little switcher here that shows you either the incomplete tasks or the complete tasks. This is a little handy thing. So basically what we're going to be learning here is how to make first of all a little contact layout, and then how we can relate, because these are different tables. The tasks and the notes are stored somewhere else in a different table. How can we relate those tables to this contact, and then how can we create new notes that pertain to this specific contact. And also in our tasks, how can we keep this a little bit organized so that we can see so we don't have to see all our tasks. We can always see, for instance, only the incomplete tasks, and then as soon as we complete them, they will be removed from this list and they will be in the complete list. Another important thing is that these clients who are having meetings with media contacts, they have their little information here, which is called the media activity area, where you can kind of have a client. This client needs to have a meeting with a media company, so you select a client, but you don't select a media contact or a prospect. In this list you would only want to see clients. Here you would only want to see media companies in this drop down, and when you select a company, you would only like to see contacts who actually work for this company. So these are like conditional value lists. That's what they're called. We're going to learn how to do that as well, and then you have a little bit of information that you can add here pertaining to this particular activity, be it a meeting or a photo shoot or an interview or an appearance on TV or something like that. So these are the things we're going to be learning in this exercise. So let's get started. Okay, so first step is we're going to start a new database, store it at somewhat of a logical location, and then we're going to, I'm going to call mine contacts media activity. I'm going to call mine V1 because I've already been playing around with this little. I never use any spaces in my file names, so you can do that too if you want. If we do this, we create this new file, then FileMaker will automatically give us a layout and a table, but I don't want those. So I'm going to go to File, Manage Database, and that's going to be kind of the place where you're always going to be going back. That's kind of like the most important place in FileMaker. If you go to Tables here, you will see I have a table that I have been given, which has the same name as my file name, but I don't want this one. I'm going to delete, and I'm going to also remove occurrences of these tables in the graph. That's what I'm going to do. I don't want that one. Now I've prepared my, I always prepare a little bit, because if I'm going to make a new database, I always kind of draw out on a piece of paper what tables I want, what fields I want, and what relationships I'm going to make. I can't show it to you, but you will see it very soon when we have created our tables. You will see very quickly what this looks like. It's actually pretty simple. For this exercise, what we're going to be needing is a table for contacts, because we're going to be storing contact information. So you just type it at the bottom, and then you hit create. I'm going to make one for notes. I'm going to be making one for tasks. and I have a little bit of a cough. I know it's annoying. And I'm going to be making one for media activity, because I'm going to be making a table for that as well. So for tables, let's add some fields. Let's double click this context one, and the first field is always going to be an ID field. You always need to make this one each and every single time in every single table you make. Sometimes it's not necessary to have an ID field, but it never hurts to have one. An ID field is always, I always call mine ID. It's always as a type a number field. Let's hit create, and then let's double click this one, and let's set it to be a serial number. That way the first one will get number 1, the second one will get number 2, and you will never be using the same number twice. If you delete the number 2 and then you make a new one, that one will be numbered 3. The number 2 will never be used again. So you can never have a conflict where you have the same serial number with 2 different records. Okay, let's hit OK, and then let's start filling out some fields. What do we need? Every contact is of a certain type. If you remember, we can have clients, we can have prospects and media contacts. So the type, and the type is not going to be a number, it's going to be a text. So if you hit your tab, you will arrive here in your number, in your type field here, and you can hit T a couple of times until you arrive at text. You can hit enter, and we've made type as a text field. What else do we need? Company is also a text field. We need title. That's where we're going to be storing the Mr. and Mrs. and Miss. That can also be a text. We're going to be making a first name as a text and a last name. Now you might be wondering if you don't want to maybe put the name in one single name field, but that's going to be annoying afterwards if you want to make, for instance, a letter and you want to write dear Mr. and then the last name. If you have your first and your last name together in one field, then it's going to be near impossible to get it out. Because some people might have a double first name, a double last name, double first and double last name. So it's going to be very difficult to try and get the last names out correctly out of that field. It's very easy to combine fields. So basically the trick in FileMaker, and I think in any database application, is to store your data in the smallest form you can possibly store it in. So the first name and the last name can be separated, and they can be put back together again very easily. Now we're going to be needing this full name, so let's immediately right now show and see how we are going to make this full name come together again. We're going to make a calculation for this, and when I make a calculation field, I always make mine, I call mine C underscore, so that I can always very easily find my calculation fields again, and I'm calling this one full name. And then when we hit tab, let's hit C a couple of times until we see that our type is a calculation. Let's hit enter, and then we can specify our calculation. Basically what we want is a first name, and we want our last name as well. So if you double click this one, then you get your first name. But if you want to add another field, you're going to have to be using an operator. An operator like this. You can add your last name. This is looking good. Let's try this out. Be careful that you do have to change this one as well. The calculation result is not going to be a number, because we're going to be making a full name. So number becomes text. Okay, and let's quickly sneak out of here for a minute to try this out, see what this gives. If we hit OK, then we will see that we're still in our layout that has the same name as our file name, and we don't want that one. So let's go to File, Manage Layouts, and we can see we have our contacts that we were just working on, but we have this one as well, and we don't need this one. So let's delete it really quick, like so, and boom, I've got my contacts layout. If I click here, I'm going to get an error message that says I cannot make a record because I need to create a new one first. Let's hit new record here, and let's quickly try this one out by entering a first name of John. And nothing is happening yet, but as soon as we hit our tab to go to the next field, you will see that this calculation already gets the first name, and then let's add a last name, John Doe. Nothing is happening yet. As soon as we click outside, or we hit tab, or we hit enter, this value will be saved, and we will see our calculation gives us John Doe, but there is no space in between. Kind of annoying. Let's add a space. Go to File, Manage Database. Let's double click this calculation, and we need to add a space, but a space is a text character, and if you add text, you always need to put it in between brackets. And again, if you want to add something, we're going to need an operator as well. So basically we're going to need first name, space, and last name. So we need an operator in between here. Let's add it here. Let's click this operator, then let's add a open the brackets, let's add a space, and then let's close our brackets. I don't know if these are brackets or I think there's another name for this. I think parentheses or something like that. I'm not sure, I'm not from the United States. Okay, first name and space and a last name. That's kind of the system. If you want to use a field name, you can just double click it from here or write the field name as it is. If you want to add text, you need to put it in between these parentheses, and if you want to have multiple things, you need to have this operator in between, and you can find that one here. Calculation result is text. Let's hit OK, and let's hit OK here as well. Let's see. Aha, this is looking better. So our calculation to calculate our full name, very simple, very easy. Just need to pay attention to a few simple rules, is done, and that works. Okay, let's continue because we're not done adding our fields. File, manage, database. What else do we need here? We need a address. That's going to be a text field. Our phone. That could also be a text field because you might want to add some special characters in there. And email definitely has some special characters as well, so let's keep that a text as well. Looking good for now. I think that's about all of the fields we need there. Let's go to our notes. Every single time, again, over and over and over again. The first one is ID, number, auto enter, serial number. That's going to be the one we always make as the first field. And then let's see, what else do we need? Every single note, as you can see, has an ID. It will have its own number, but every single note will also be related to a certain contact. What we need to do here is store that contact's ID number somewhere in a field so that we know which contact this specific note belongs to. The ID, like you have here, the ID of this note is something that we call the primary key. And if we're going to be putting a primary key of a contact in this field, then in this table, then we call that a foreign key. So I'm going to call this one contact ID FK. That's how I call it. That's my excuse me. That's my foreign key for my contact. This is also going to be a number field because it's just going to store the ID of this contact. Let's hit create. And what else do we need? We need a date, and a date is not going to be a number field. It's going to be a date field. We're going to add a time, which is not going to be a date, it's going to be a time field, obviously. And then I'm going to add the actual note, and that's going to be a text field. Oops. Text there. Now this is nice, this is interesting. There are a few interesting fields that you could add that you should add in the beginning if you're going to add them, but those fields are only useful in a multi-user kind of environment. If you're just going to be using this file on your own, then I think you're good like this, but if other people are going to be using this, it could sometimes be interesting to know when a certain, in this case a note, when it has been created and by whom, and when it has been last modified and by whom. So if you're making a bunch of notes and then all of a sudden you see that someone has been changing them, then you can see who has been doing this. Okay, let's see, created by, let's make this field, it's going to be a text field, and if we hit enter, we create this one, we can double click it, and there is a handy little auto enter option here that is creation account name. So basically this is going to be storing the account name on the moment of creation, so the person who creates, or the account name who creates this note. Okay, this is interesting. Another one is created on. Let's make this a, what options do we have here? We could make it a date, but more specifically we could make it a timestamp, and the timestamp is date plus time, so we know exactly when this one has been created. Let's create this one, create it on timestamp. Let's auto enter the creation timestamp. Good, that's good, so we know who created it and when. Now sometimes these things can be modified, so let's write modified by. Let's make that a text field. Let's create it, let's double click it, and let's say modification here. Modification, that means who last modified it, and we're going to put account name in here, and as you can already guess, modified, I see I made a bit of a typo here. Modified on, let's make this again a timestamp. Let's create, and let's set this to modification timestamp. So have the same typo here. If I want to change this typo, and this is something a bit tricky and a bit important, what I need to do is I need to change it here, and then I can't hit enter because then I will be creating a new record. I need to hit change here if I want to change this typo. So I have created by, created on, modified by, and modified on. Those are 4 very interesting fields that you could use to kind of go and see who has been messing around with your notes. Okay, next one, tasks. Again, the same ID, that's going to be serial number, and again the contact ID FK, our foreign key where we store the contact's ID. We need those 2, and then what else do we need for our tasks? We have a type of task that is going to be a text. We can have a due date. That's of course going to be a date. We could have a description. That could be a text as well. And we could have a status. That could be a text as well. If we would like to add those 4 interesting fields that we just created in the notes as well, you either have to create them manually, or if you are smart as me and you got Filemaker Pro Advanced, then you can go to Notes, you can select these 4, you can hit copy here in the bottom, you can go back to tasks, and you can hit paste. That's a bit quicker than making them again. Okay, looking good. I think 1 more left, media activity. That's going to be our last table. Let's add, as always, the ID field first. That's going to be a serial number. And then let's add also a contact ID FK. That's basically where we store the name of our client. That's going to be a number. Then what else do we need? We need to store the media company. Media company is going to be a text because we're just going to select one from a list and it's going to store it as a text. And then we have a media contact, someone who's working for that specific company. Media contact is going to be a number because we're just going to enter the number of one of our existing contacts. Media contact, and actually I can call that one media contact ID FK to make it really correct. And let's change this one. Media contact ID FK is going to be a number. Then what else do we need? We want to store the phone number, or at least display the phone number and the email address of this particular contact, but we already have that information stored in our contact table, so let's not add those fields here. We're going to go and get them from the other table. And then what else do we need for our media activity? It's on a certain date. It's going to have a certain status, which is a text. And it's going to be about a certain story. I didn't make this up, someone else did. Story. So I guess that's for like if you have a celebrity who's doing multiple projects, then he can know what project this particular appearance or interview or photo shoot is about. Okay, this is looking pretty good. I think that's going to be about it. Let's have a quick peek here. We have our contacts, we have our media activity. We can make this a bit bigger so we can see all our fields. We have our notes, and we have our tasks, and we have our media activity there. Now, this is kind of an important place, this relationship dialog, and the important thing about this place is that it stays neat and nicely organized. In order to do that, there is something that's called the anchor buoy method. If you want, you can Google that. And it sounds all a bit complicated, but the idea is very simple. You put these things are called table occurrences. You put your table occurrence. It looks like it's just your contacts table, but there is a bit of a difference. You'll understand that later on. This one, we're going to be making a layout for our contacts when we enter our contact information. So let's put this contacts box like actually where it is, because it's actually already in the correct position. It's on the left. And then if we're going to relate other tables to this contact, then we're going to place them on the right side here, like these actually already are, which is already good. And so we're going to be making one contacts layout, and I'm going to be showing the notes and the tasks on this layout, so they need to be here. And I'm going to be showing media activity, but there will also be information from our contact, from our media company, from our media contact, and all of that information will come from here. We're going to put that also on this layout. So what this means is that we will be making relationships from here. We're going to be relating these tables to this one. So there will be relationships like this, but there will also be relationships like this, but that's going to make a big mess really quick. So how can we solve this? Very simple. We can make a kind of like a second contact box, and we can put it here, and that's going to be for the contacts that we want to relate to our media activity. Sounds a bit complicated. I'm going to show you how that works. Let's first do a fun thing. Let's give all our boxes a specific color. Let's go down here. Let's make our contacts red. Our notes are always yellow, and a task, I don't know, it's, let's see, green, and a media activity, let's make that, what else do we have? A blue. The reason I'm doing this is because if I now make a copy of this box, let's by using these two plus signs here, then you will see I have now got a contact and a contacts too, but they're both red, so you can see that they come from the same table. Now you might be a little bit confused. What we just did is we did not make an extra table. If you go, because tables is what we make here. If you go to the top left of your little box, then it says source table contacts, but if you go here it also says source table contacts. So basically these two different boxes, even though they have a different name, they do still point to one and the same table. If you go to your tables here, you will see that I still only have 4 tables. I have contacts, notes, tasks, and media activity. But here, when you look at the back here, it says occurrences in graph. That's the relationship graph. I have contacts and contacts too. So everything, every kind of changes that I make here will be made in the same table. Everything happens in the contacts table. There is one contacts table, and there will never be different data in 2 different tables because there is only one single table. So then what is the reason to make these boxes, to make multiple boxes like this? The first reason is to keep everything neat, nice, and organized. But most of all, it's because this way we can make different kinds of relationships. And that might not be entirely clear yet right now, but it will become clear a little bit further down in the episode, or in this tutorial. Because what we have here is we have contacts. Contacts are stored here. We also have media companies, and we have media contacts. That all of that stuff is stored here. But all of this stuff will require different kinds of relationships, because basically here we only want to see clients. We don't want to see prospects. We don't want to see any media contacts. Here, when I enter information in this one, I only want to see media companies, and I don't want to see anything else. And here, I only want to see media contacts that are working for the media company I selected here. So we're going to have to make some funky relationships here, and when we do that, we will be making multiple copies of this. And these copies, we actually call them table occurrences, because this is an occurrence of a table. We're going to be making multiple table occurrences to make all of this work. But let's not run ahead of ourselves. Let's first make a few very simple basic relationships that we're going to be needing to make this whole thing function. Like I said, we will be storing the contact's ID in these notes and in these tasks tables, in these fields that we made here. So let's make a very simple relationship from contacts ID. Let's drag to the contact ID FK here, and basically we've made our first relationship, and let's make a second one to this field. If we hit these little icons, then these boxes become a little smaller, and I can see, very nice, very neat, very simple. I've made my first relationships. These different tables have now been related. Okay, I think we're finished here. Let's start working on our layout. Now that we have created these tables, we can see that FileMaker has made 4 nice little layouts for us. These are layouts that have been made automatically, and I could use them to start entering information. Now what I always do, and I think that's a pretty handy little trick, is you have this little thing, this thing that says view as. Here you have 3 different views. You have a form view, you have a list view, and you have a table view. Now what I always do is I take these layouts that I have gotten from FileMaker and I put them all in table view so that I can use them, and these will be my kind of developer layouts. The layouts that I can use to see the actual real data that's stored into these tables, into each and every single field. Sometimes you will be putting layout objects on your layout, like checkboxes, radio buttons, drop downs and stuff like that, and that could kind of obscure your data. That can prevent you from seeing the actual data. So what I do is I always keep these tables that I got, these layouts that I got, I always keep them in table mode. And if I make layouts for my user, then I just make new ones. What I do to organize this a little bit is I go to File, Manage, Layouts, and I make a new folder, and I call this Tables. And then, excuse me, using these arrows here, you can drag, and you can drag to the right, so you can drag these tables into this folder. And if we go and look here right now, I have tables, and I have these are like my developer layouts that I have now. It will become clear later on why I'm using this. For now, just follow along. Now if I want to make a new layout, I do have to go back for a second here to Form View, then I have to go to Edit Layout, and then I have this big button, New Layout. And this is where I will start to make my actual layout that my user will be using to enter information. So I'm going to call this one Lay Contact. This is going to be showing records from contacts. That is correct. I'm going to include this in the layout menus. This is going to be in the standard form. I'm going to hit next, and here I can choose which fields I would like to see on this layout. I'm going to move all, but then I'm going to clear this one, the ID, because I don't ever want my user to see an ID. I don't ever want my user to have to deal with IDs, and this full name calculation is one that I will want to see on my layout, but not like this and not in a field. I'm going to add it as a merge field later on, so let's clear that one as well. And this looks good. Let's hit next, and now we arrive at the fun part. The entire reason why we bought FileMaker 12 in the first place is we can select a theme. And standard, this is a gray theme, it's pretty boring, but if you go down a little bit, I often choose this one, the semi-rounded river. I think it looks kind of cute. So I'm gonna hit finish, and I have the new layout now. As you can see here, I have a lay contact, and I have my contacts here. So I have 2 different layouts, but the one is in table view and the other one is in form view, and this is going to be my user layout that my user could enter information in. Let's exit this layout, and then we can see what we have here. First of all, we have our type. Now, if you remember, we had 3 different types. We have client, media contact, and prospect. We can choose one of these 3. If I want, I could just enter that here, but that's going to take more time. I could enter mistakes, I could make typos, or I could enter a type that does not even exist or that we don't want to use. So I need to restrict my user from entering data in here that doesn't make sense, and I also have to make it easier for my user to just be able to select something. So let's go to Edit Layout, let's select this one. And let's go to data in our inspector. If you don't see your inspector, you gotta go to View and Inspector, or hit Control-I on Windows, and then this window should pop up. If we go to the Data tab, and under Control Style, we can choose. We can make a drop-down list, but we only have 3 fixed values, so a drop-down list is not that clear. It's a little bit hidden. You have to click it first to see the values. We could use a checkbox set, but in a checkbox set you can check multiple values, and I don't want my contact to be of multiple types. I only want it to be of one type, so I'm going to choose a radio button set. That allows me to choose only one value. I'm gonna choose the values from, we don't have any value lists yet, so we're gonna create one, and let's hit new, and let's make this one type of contact. I'm not gonna be using values from a field, I'm just gonna use custom values, and the custom values will be client, because a contact is either my client, it's either immediate contact, or it's going to be a prospect. So let's hit OK, and let's see what gives. Client, media, contact, prospect. It's looking kind of nice. Let's exit the layout and see. This is our radio button set. Now I can select whichever I want here, and I can only select one. Now if we go and quickly have a look in our table view, we can see that under type, if you make it a little bit bigger, we can see that this checkbox set has also shown up here. And that can be a little bit annoying. If there is a problem or there is a value that's not correct, you can't see the actual value that's in the field right now. You can see that there is client, but what if there are multiple values that are not supposed to be here, or there is something strange going on? In this table view, you can't see what's going on. That's why our in tables, our contact layout here, I'm going to set this back in table mode. This one still shows the actual value, the actual word that is in that type field. And if we go here under type, we have that. So that can be annoying sometimes. This kind of obstructs you, kind of prevents you from seeing the actual data in that field. That's why I'm using these different table layouts, and I'm making a new layout for my user. Also, there are maybe a few fields in here that you're not really showing on the layout, but you might sometimes want to see what the data in that field is, and then you can go into our table view layout. Okay. Company, we have a client. Let's say we have a media company, a media contact who works for the BBC, and the title is going to be Mr. Again, a situation where you have a few values. We could do the same thing as here, but we could also, because we've already done that, we can do something else. Let's make this a drop-down list. Let's make a new value list here. Let's call it title, and let's make this one Mr. and Mrs. I think that's how you write that, and then Miss. Okay, let's see what gives. Title, Mr., Mrs., and Miss. I have Mr. John Doe, looking good. He is living in 12 Main Street. Main Street. Phone number is not important, and email is going to be john@doe.com. Now, a little handy thing that you could add, you could edit the layout, make this header a little bit bigger, so you can clearly, a little bit more clearly see because now we have all this information is in the same kind of size. It's a little bit difficult to see which person you're looking at. We can make that easier by using this text tool, and if you're not seeing this bar, that could be because your window is too narrow. If your window becomes too narrow, you can see that bar disappear. So make your window large enough, and also there is a button down here that can hide that status bar. So if it's hidden, use this button in the bottom to show it. Let's use our text tool. Let's hit a text. Let's create a text here. Let's go to Insert, Merge Fields, and let's choose our full name. If we do that, and let's click outside of it, we're going to make this one a little bit bigger, and we're going to use this double A icon here to show our formatting bar, so we can choose a larger text size, and we're going to make this one a bit bigger for the longer names. Let's use our arrows to point it up a little bit, like something like so. And if we go exit layout, then we can now see our name is large and in the top, so it's very clear now to see who we are looking at. That's a little handy trick, something that could come in handy. Let's see, for the rest, I think this is about it. Maybe one little adjustment you could make here is make this title is a bit huge. Let's make it a bit smaller. Also the phone is a bit big. Let's make it a bit smaller. Let's see. Yeah, that's looking a little bit better. The name could maybe be a little smaller as well, but it doesn't really matter. You can play around with this if you want. Right now, let's add the tasks and the notes. And to do that, let's go to Edit Layout and make our layout a little bit bigger because we don't have enough space like this. And I'm going to add the notes and the tasks somewhat here. And a good thing that you can use then is a tab control object. If you use that, then you get multiple tabs. Let's say one for notes, and hit create, and one for tasks, and create, and that way we have two. What I usually do is I make the label width plus a margin of, let's say, 15 pixels, and that way it looks nice and neat. If you do that, you get to use the same space for two different kind of things, which kind of how do you call that, screen real estate, gives you more screen real estate. Let's add our our notes, and these notes are going to be, they are stored in a different table. So basically what we need to do is show notes from a related table on this layout. And how do we do that? In FileMaker we use a portal. Let's make our portal. The portal tool is on top there, and then you can drag a big box like so, boom, and show related records from. This is going to be notes because we're on the notes tab here, and then we have a few options. I don't necessarily want to sort, I don't want to filter, but I do want to allow the deletion of portal records. That means, do I want to be able to delete notes? If I make a note that I don't want, I want to be able to delete it. So let's check that. And I want to show a vertical scroll bar, because if I have lots of notes, I'm going to need to scroll to see them all. Then I want to add my fields. Now I do not want to add my ID of my note, because I really don't want my user to have to deal with IDs ever in any of the layouts, so I'm not going to show that. The contact ID, which means the ID of the contact, I don't need that either, because the contact information is here, and again, I don't want my user to have to deal with an ID. The date is good, the time is good, the note is good, and then we have our 4 created by and modified fields, and I could add those because those could be interesting, but if I have to add 4 fields, they're going to take up a lot of space, and they're going to be kind of in the way. I'm not going to need them that often. They are interesting to see now and then, but I'm going to show you a little trick how we can see what's in these fields without adding them on the layout. I'm going to show you a little trick later on. Okay, looking good for now. Let's hit OK, and then we have our date, our time, and our note. Cool. Let's exit our layout, and what do we see? A big empty box. Not interesting. Let's go back to edit layout, and let's add some labels. Let's choose our text tool, and let's add date. And if we drag it here, then it becomes aligned to the front there. Now if we drag it there and we hit our control in Windows, then it floops back to its position, and we get a little plus sign by our cursor. If we let go here, then we see that we have made a copy of our date. And if we put it like this, it becomes aligned again, and then we can call this one time. We control drag it again, and it shows up here. We let go, and then we align it somewhat like so. And this will be our note. Okay, let's exit our layout. This looks a little bit better, but I still can't make any notes. It seems like there is something that we have forgotten, and we have. Let's go to File, Manage Database, and we can see we have a relationship here between contacts and notes, but we don't have the ability to create notes from this side. So let's double click this equal sign, and then we can see that on this relationship we do have a few options here, and these are the same options on both sides of the relationship. Basically what we want to do on the side of the notes, we want to be able to create notes, and it says here allow creation of records in this table via this relationship. That means allow the creation of notes in the notes table. We want to do that, and there's another option here, and it sounds really complicated. It says delete related records in this table when a record is deleted in the other table. That sounds complicated, but basically how you need to read it is delete notes in this table, in the notes table, when a contact is deleted in the contacts table. So basically what that means is if you have a bunch of contacts and every contact has a bunch of notes, what do you want to happen to the notes when you delete a contact? Do you want his notes to be deleted as well, or do you want them to stay? That's basically it. If you delete a contact, you, in this case, you won't be able to see this contact's notes anymore, because the notes are seen through a contact layout, so the contact doesn't exist anymore. You won't be able to see the notes. But if you don't delete them, they will still be in the notes table. You just won't be able to see them unless you go to the actual notes table itself. What we call that is an orphaned record. If we have a bunch of notes related to a client that doesn't exist anymore, then those records are orphaned records, and they're pretty useless. So in this case, I'm going to want to delete the notes when a contact is deleted in the other table. Now this is kind of situation specific. In another situation, you might not want this to happen. So that depends from situation to situation. Okay, for now, I think this is good. Let's hit OK. And what do we see? Yes, we're getting we're getting some boxes here. We could start entering information. But now let's ask ourselves what we are doing here. This is date, this says time, and this says note. Probably what I would want to do, what would be a good workflow, is when I have this guy's information, if I'm on this person's record, I'm going to want to enter a note. So I'm going to want to start here, entering a note. So basically it might be more interesting to put the note on the front, so that would be the first thing you add. If you have a note, something in your head, then you want to write that down immediately. You don't want to first start thinking about the date and about the time. And actually the date and the time is probably going to be the date and the time that this note was created. So what you want to do is you want to create your note, and actually you want FileMaker to deal with this, to enter the date and the time automatically the moment that this note is created, so that you only have to worry about the note and not about this other stuff here. So let's do some reorganizing. Let's take these, and they're a little bit big, so let's go to position, and this now says inches. I want to change this. If you click inch, it goes to centimeters, and if you click it again, it goes to points. I want this to be about 100 points wide, and this time could be about, let's say, 90 points wide. And then I'm going to click this date. I'm going to go to data here, edit box, drop down calendar as control style, and I'm going to include an icon to show and hide calendar. And if you see, a tiny little icon shows up here, and if you exit the layout, I'm not going to do it right now because then I'll be creating a record, but it shows you this nice little drop down calendar. We're going to try this out in a second. Let's move these over a little bit. I'm using my shift to select both the field and the label. I'm going to put them here using my arrow keys to navigate, to nudge them a little bit. Then I'm going to put these more to the back of the line here, and I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them more to the front. Somewhat like so. Nudge them a little bit. Then I'm going to take these four again, and I'm going to put them more to the back, kind of like this. And then this one can become a bit bigger. Oops, like so. And that snapping can sometimes be handy and can sometimes be annoying, but if you want, you can always zoom in, and then you can kind of edit this a bit more precisely. And if it snaps, you could also just manually enter data here. Let's make it so. Okay, if you hit the 300 again, it zooms back out. And then let's try out and see what we've done. This is a note. If we click outside, this note is saved, and basically what you can see is nothing has happened here yet. I could enter a date manually, but that was not really the idea. I wanted this date and this time to be entered automatically so I don't have to deal with it. How do we do that? We go to File, Manage Database, and we're going to go to Fields. Now in the Notes table, I've got my date and my time, and if I double click them, I get a whole bunch of options. And the Autoenter sounds good to me because I'm going to automatically enter a piece of data in there, and it says right here on the creation, I would like to enter the date. Yes, give me that. And then with the time, as you can guess, it's creation as well, and it's time. Because this is of the type time, it's already automatically telling me that you probably would want to enter a time in here. Okay, this is good. I want creation date and creation time. Let's try this out. This is still empty because this record had already been created. Let's make a new note. And you can see nothing is happening here. Why is nothing happening here? Basically because I am still editing this note. This is still a blue field now, and I'm still editing it. The moment that I save it, FileMaker knows that I want to save this and will create this note and will also enter the date and the time if all goes well. How do I save this field? How do I kind of, in FileMaker it's called how do I commit this record? And I can do that three ways. Either I click outside of it, I hit my return key, or I use my tab key to tab to the next field. I'm going to click outside here, and when I do, it says the date was 5/11 and the time was 17:54. I'm in Europe, so we have times like that. So that's good. This way I only have to enter a note and all the rest is taken care of by FileMaker. But I do still have this little date field here, so I can still change the entered date if I want to change this. Now, if I have a note that I don't want anymore, this is a note and I want to remove it, I can't remove it right now, but let's see how we go about doing that. Let's go to Edit Layout, and then let's insert a picture, because you don't need a picture. You could also use a text, but I'm going to use a picture, and I'm going to go, I think I have some images here at the bottom. I think I have this little one is a PNG image, which is really cool. In FileMaker you can use PNG images to that have transparency to make really nice looking buttons. Let's see if I can find my button. Yeah, here. It looks pretty good. Let's align it. Let's nudge it a bit, like so. Okay, very nice. Let's make this PNG image a button. Let's right click it and go to button setup, and I'm going to have to give this button an action to do. What does it need to do? Let's scroll down. Let's see if we can find something that looks kind of interesting, and under records you can see delete record. Now that sounds good, but actually we have to remember that we are in the contacts table here. If we delete a record, then we will be deleting a contact. We don't want to delete a contact, we want to delete a note. So that's also the reason that I put this button in this portal row. We want to delete a portal row, not a record. Okay, that's interesting. That's very important, that distinction between those two. We have an option here to perform this delete without a dialog, but I don't really want to do that because this dialog asks me if I am sure that I want to delete this record or this portal row, and I do like that as a nice little bit of a fail-safe. And I have this change to hand cursor that is really nice to have, so that you can see that that little cross there, that is actually a button. Another thing that you can add is here under position in your inspector, you can add a tooltip, and you can make it like delete this note, for instance. If you do that, let's see what happened here. We have our notes, we have our crosses, and now we only added one, but you can see on every single portal row a new cross is added, and if we hover over it, we can see that our cursor becomes a nice little hand. The delete this note tooltip shows up, and we can delete this one. Do I want to delete this related record? Yes, delete, and it is gone. So that's how we delete portal rows, or that's how we delete, in this case, notes from our list of notes. If you remember, I was also going to show you a little tip to show that extra information, that created, modified information. I'm going to show that in a handy little way. It's a nice little trick, and to do that we're going to insert another picture. And I think I have one here, this nice cute little blue icon, a little info icon, and I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to, like we just did before, I'm going to show the information in a tooltip. And we're going to edit this tooltip, and this is going to be a little tricky, and this is something you might have to learn. This might take a little while to kind of learn that vocabulary, if you will. I'm going to go to the notes. I'm going to have to add a bunch of stuff here. I want to see who created it, when, who last modified it, and when. But I'm going to need to add some text. I'm going to need to add the data that's in the fields, and I need to use a bit of a FileMaker language to do this. If you remember, if you want to type text, we need to put it in between parentheses. So I'm going to write in between parentheses created by. Then I'm going to put a space, and then I'm going to close my parentheses. If I want to add something else, I need my operator and then if I want to add a field name, I can just double click my field name here. So I've got created by and notes. If I want to add a return, because the next one should be on a different line, I'm going to add something else, so my and operator and my return. Let's hit enter, and basically if I want to add something else here, my and operator and then some text in between parentheses. Created on. Let's add a space, close my parentheses, and created on is going to be created on. I need to add my operator that I forgot here because I've got a text here and a field name in between those two different things. I need my and operator. And again, my and parentheses, or it's not a, that's a paragraph. I'm going to add another and I've got another text modified, or I could call this one last modified by, oops. Again, my operator to add another thing, modified by another operator, another paragraph here, another operator, another text. there's a difference when you enter that yourself or when you click here. This one adds a space. Spaces don't really matter. You can add as many spaces if you want. Last modified by, and then last modified on, close my parentheses, and modified on. Okay, I think this is about it. Let's see, created by, created on, last modified by, and last modified on. Looking good. If you hit this OK button, FileMaker will give you an error if you made a mistake. So let's see, it didn't give me an error. I think I did it well. Let's exit the layout and let's try this out, this tooltip. Created by admin on that date, and last modified by admin on another date. Let's see if we could modify the date here, and let's see. Yes, nice. It's been created on a certain time at 1754, and it's been last modified at 1800. So that's looking good, and this is a handy little way to show some extra information on screen without it taking up a lot of space. Now if you make another new note, note here, and we enter, then we can see that basically now this data has been changed. This data is of course the data for this record, and this is the data for the other record. So this is a handy little trick that you could use here and there. Now let's add some tasks, and that's basically the same thing. We're going to add another portal. I'm going to put this portal a little bit lower because I know something you don't. This is going to be from tasks. I'm going to allow deletion and show vertical scroll bar. And what do I want to see? The type, the due date, the description, and the status. Yeah, that's about it. Again, I will be making some labels for these. So type. Let's put this one here. And sometimes the alignment doesn't really work. Sometimes it does. It's a little bit tricky, but you can always zoom in and try again. Let's put this one here. In fact, let's make 4 copies. Now that we're at it, this one is going to be due date. This one is going to be description, and this one is going to be type. No, status. Okay, let's align these as well. Oops, accidentally double clicked. Yeah, like so. Status, description, due date. Due date could be a bit smaller because it's going to be a date. In fact, let's make this 100. And let's go to data. Let's go to drop down calendar and include icon to show and hide calendar. Looking pretty good. In fact, this one could be a bit bigger now. Something like so. And then let's select both the description and the description field, and let's go to position, and let's go to align, and align them together, like something like so. It's not perfect, but it'll do for now. Alright, let's go to exit layout, and let's see what we've got here. Again, we can't enter anything, because if you remember, we gotta go to File, Manage Database. We gotta go to check out this relationship between contacts and tasks. You have to double click this one, you have to allow the creation of tasks, and we have to delete tasks when a contact has been deleted as well. Okay, looking good. Tasks, oh right, I can add a task here. Now what type of task could I have? I need to make a phone call. What's the due date? Very handy. I've got my drop down calendar, I could select a date. I've got a description here. Phone call is about the contract, for instance, and I've got a status. What do I do here with the status? The status, let's keep it simple. It could be that the task is complete, either, or incomplete. So I've got again 2 values, and we've seen that before here. Let's make let's go here and make this a radio button set, and we got to make a new one because this is going to be for the status, and it's going to have 2 values: incomplete or complete. Very simple. Okay, exit layout, and we have our incomplete, complete. Another thing to look out for is that your field here is big enough. If this is big enough, it's even too big. sometimes if it's too small you won't see all your values. Okay, now I've got my tasks. Phone call about the contract is incomplete. If you want all your notes that you make, if you want all of them to be incomplete by default, you can do that. Then you gotta go to File, Manage Database. You gotta go to the fields here. You gotta go to your notes, or no, not notes, but tasks, and you have to go to your status. And we're gonna auto enter the data of incomplete. That way, every single task that is created is by definition always incomplete. Let's try it out and see what that gives. Let's make a new task. And if we tab into the next field here, then we arrive in the due date. You will see that the status already says incomplete. It's automatically been set as incomplete because we've automatically entered that value into that field. Let's give this one a due date of like so, and voila. Let's add a finished task. Let's put the due date in the past, and let's say this is done. And let's set this one to complete. Now, an annoying thing is already starting to show up. This is going to become a mess of incomplete and complete tasks all mixed together. What could you do? Let's go to Edit Layout. Let's double click this portal. We could sort portal record. We could sort by status. And if we do that, let's hit OK and see what happens then. We can see that the tasks are, first you have complete and then you have incomplete. Let's add a few more tasks. Number 2. Let's pick whatever date. Let's set this one to complete, and if we click outside here, you will see that our complete goes up and our incomplete is down. That's because complete starts with the C and this starts with an I. That's later in the alphabet. Let's go back to Edit Layout. Let's double click this portal again, and let's go to the sort status here, and let's put it in descending order. Okay, looking better. Let's go to tasks. Okay, now we have our incomplete tasks at the top and our complete tasks at the bottom. And if you see, if I make this one incomplete, nothing happens yet because I'm basically still editing this value. It's the same as when you added a value here. You have to save the value by, like, for instance, clicking outside of it, and then it will change its position. If you don't want this to happen, if you don't want this to take so long, if you want the basically the value that you change to be, if you want that to be saved the moment that you change it, you need to add a little thing called a script trigger. Let's do that to find out how that works. We go to Edit Layout, we select this field, we right click and we do Set Script Trigger, and there are a bunch of events: on object enter, on object keystroke, on object modified. That's the one we're going to want to use right now. Basically, when you modify the value of this field, you would like something to happen. Let's select that one, and then we get to specify a script. Now we don't have any scripts yet, so let's make a new one, and we're going to call this one commit record. Because that's how you call that, that's how it's called in FileMaker, to kind of save a record. It's called commit record. And if we scroll down, under records, we're going to find commit record request. We can check this perform without dialog, but a commit record step doesn't really have a dialog, but just in case we don't want a dialog, let's select that one. And then basically we have made one new script with one line, one commit record line here. So let's hit OK and OK here, and then you will see a tiny little red star shows up here that tells us that this field has a script trigger attached to it. So let's hit Exit Layout and see what this has changed for us. If we take, for instance, the bottom one here and we make it incomplete, it will immediately pop up, and it will not, you will not have to commit it. So this is maybe interesting for users who want to see the changes that they do here happen automatically, because otherwise it might be a little bit annoying that you change the value and nothing happens. This makes it happen instantly. So now these tasks have been sorted. You have the incomplete tasks at the top. It's already a little bit better, but it's still not ideal because maybe after a while you're going to have a lot of complete tasks and you might not want to see them because it makes a bit of a mess. Maybe it's easier if you only see the incomplete tasks so that you know the things that you still need to do and that you're not bothered by all those tasks that have already been completed. So we can add a little extra, little something that gives us the possibility to choose what we see, the incomplete or the complete tasks, because we could also just say show me only the incomplete tasks and not the complete tasks, but then if you accidentally set a task to be complete, it would disappear and you can't get to it anymore. So we're going to want to have the ability to display only incomplete tasks, but also to show complete tasks just in case if we need to see those as well. What we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Manage Database, and in our contacts table, let's add a new field. Let's make it status selector. I don't know if you use an O or an E there normally. It doesn't really matter. Let's create this one. We have our status selector. Let's add OK. Let's click OK, and then here let's go to Edit Layout and let's add on the Task tab. Let's add that field. How do we add a field? We use our field tool. We click and drag it down. And then we have our field. Let's add it somewhere here, and then we can choose which field this needs to be, status selector, and let's create a label. The label is pretty useless, so let's make it a bit more clearly. Select which type you want to see. Let's do something like that. Okay, this one needs to be our complete and incomplete radio button set. We already know how to do that. We already have this status here. You can see that the field is too small now, so we need to make it a bit larger. Incomplete, complete, exit layout. Let's see on our tasks. Select which type you want to see. There. Now I can select whether if I want to see my incomplete tasks or my complete tasks. Of course, this is not doing anything yet. We still need to get to that point. Kind of maybe a little bit of an important thing. I think we already just did that for the tasks as well. If you want, when you create a new contact, because I have one contact now, if I make a new contact, this thing is gonna have no value in it. So maybe it's handy that every time when you create a new contact, this is set to incomplete by default. We just did that already, I think, so let's do it again. File, Manage Database. In our contacts with the status selector, let's add an Autoenter data of incomplete. Okay, so that way, every time that I make a new person here, a new client, if we go at tasks, we will see that this one is already set to incomplete. So that we always by default only show incomplete tasks. So that's a good one. Let's delete this one. This is also an empty one. Let's delete it for now. There we have our switcher, but it's not working yet. Let's see and see if we can figure out why that is. Let's go to File, Manage Database, and then Relationships. We can see that the relationship for this between contacts and tasks tells us that if we are on the contact layout, what we want to see is all the tasks that have the same ID, the same value as the contacts have in their ID field, and the contact IDFK here in the task table. So basically, if this value is 1 and this value is 1, I will be able to see this task from this side here. If we want to see only the tasks that are either complete or incomplete, we need to add a relationship, and we're going to make a relationship between this status selector that's going to have a value of either complete or incomplete, and this needs to be equal to the status here. If we do that, then you can see that this kind of forks a little bit, and we kind of have a double relationship here now. If you double click this one, you can see you have two conditions here in this relationship. So let's click OK. Let's click OK here, and let's see in our tasks. Right now I'm already seeing, I think I had about 4 nodes, but I'm only seeing 2 of them. I see 2 complete nodes, and this one is also set to complete. If I set this one to incomplete, then you will see that it changes, and I see 2 different tasks, and these are the tasks that are set to incomplete. So basically I can now use this switcher to show only complete or incomplete tasks. And if I have an incomplete task here, my number 2, and I set it to complete, it will automatically disappear and it will show up here with my complete tasks. So that was a nice, neat little trick to keep everything nice, neat, and organized. Okay, so far so good. Let's make our next layout. We still need to create media activities, and that was a little bit of a special one. Let's go to edit layout and let's choose new layout. And now on our media activity table there, let's create a media activity. And let's go for next. Here I would like to move all, but I'm going to remove this ID and all the rest can stay for now. Let's go next and we can choose a theme. I'm going to choose the same one, and there you go. I'm going to organize this stuff a little bit. I'm going to put these fields a little lower because these kind of belong together. These two kind of belong together. Let's make it a bit so, and this one kind of belongs on the top. Okay, basically the idea of this layout is I have a certain client, and this client is going to be here, so I'm going to name this here client. Then I'm going to, this client is going to have an appointment with a media company and with a certain person from that specific media company. So let's change these labels a little bit and let's get cracking. Okay, go to browse mode. Let's see here, there are no records present, so let's hit new record. Here I would like to select a client. Now if I go back to my contact, I have clients, I have media contacts, and I have prospects. I only want to be able to select clients and not media contacts or not prospects. So I'm going to, the normal way you would do this is you would go and make this a drop down list. You would make it a new value list, and you would make a new value list called contacts. You would use values from a field. You would use from the field contacts. You would use their ID because you're going to store just the ID of the contact. And then you're going to also display values from the second field, also from the table contacts. I'm going to display the full name. Here I'm going to show values only from second field. I'm going to hit OK, 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 and exit layout. And let's see what we get. We get our John Doe, and if we select our John Doe, it says client number 1 because that's the ID of John Doe. This is the most basic, most simple way you would go about selecting this. Only problem right now is that we only have one client or one person here, and this person was a media contact. Let's make a client. Let's say that Julia Roberts is a client. It's a Mrs. I would think, or a Miss. I'm not sure. Let's make another new record just for fun. Let's make a Mr. Johnny Depp is also a client. Okay, if you go back to our media activity thing here, then we have Johnny Depp, we have Julia Roberts, but we also have John Doe. And if we remember, John Doe was not a client. He's a media contact. So he works for, I think he worked for the BBC. We don't want John Doe to show up. We only want our clients to show up. So how do we do that? It's kind of the same, if you go to File, Manage Database, it's kind of the same trick we did here. We only want to see contacts that are clients, and that we're going to use the same trick as we did here, kind of like a double relationship. And this is where we will start using these other table occurrences, as we call them, or these copied tables, these copied boxes. This is how we're going to be using them right now. Okay, this one is one that we are not really using yet, so let's start with this one. Let's double click it. Let's say contacts underscore, and I'm gonna call this one clients, because here I want to get only clients. Okay, how do we do this? We need to make a relationship where from this layout we only want to see clients here. Basically, if we make an is equal relationship, then we want a value here to be client that needs to be equal to the type here that is also client. So we need to make a field here that has client as a value, in each and every single record here. So let's go to our fields in our media activity table. let's create a new field, and I'm going to call this one Autoenter client. So basically what this one is, this will be a text field. I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to set an Autoenter value data of client. That's not going to work. Client, like that. Okay, what this will do is that every single time I make a new record, this field will have the value client in there, and that is something that I can then use. My Autoenter client, I can make a relationship between this one and my type of contact here, so that basically from this side, in this table occurrence, I will only see clients and nothing else. Okay, that's a good theory, but first we have to kind of remember one thing. I've set this Autoenter data situation here, but it will only start working as soon as I start making new records. Let's go and check out our nice and handy developer layout here, our media activity. We'll see that this Autoenter field has not yet been added, so let's do modify the green plus Autoenter client. It's now here. It has no value yet, but as soon as I make a new record, you will see now it says client. All the records that I'm going to be making now, they will all have this automatically entered data in there. So if you have this field that doesn't have a value yet, you can just enter it here. If for the one or the other reason you are adding a field like this with an Autoenter data to a database that already has loads and loads and loads of records in it, we can make a loop script that fills out this out. So let's just to show you guys, let's imagine that I have a bunch of records here that don't have this value set yet. We're gonna fill them all in automatically. Let's make a new script. I went to scripts there, that script menu, manage scripts, and I'm gonna make my new script called looping script, and I'm gonna add a few steps to this script. Now basically what you want to do when you're going to make a script, you have to kind of imagine what you want FileMaker to do. First I want FileMaker to go to the first record, then I want it to set the value client in here, and then I want it to go to the next record, set client, next record, set client, next record. So basically that's what I want it to do. So the first step will be go to record request page, and I have to specify first. From then on I would like this to become a loop, because this is another this is the steps that are going to come now need to happen over and over and over again. The first step in my loop, because when I click loop I will get loop and end loop, the first step in my loop will be a set field step. And in my set field step I have two specification, and that's a little tricky sometimes. It's not that difficult, but you do have to pay attention here. First thing I have to do is I have to specify the target field. I want to click specify and specify the field that I want to change. This is my Autoenter client field, and I want to specify a result, the value that I want to set in that field. And it says here calculated result. That value could be a calculation, but in this case we're going to specify a very simple client, a very simple word here. Now the thing to remember is if you want to put text in there, you have to put your text in between these parentheses, so that it otherwise FileMaker is going to look for a file for a field with the name client, and it's not going to find it, and there's going to be a problem. So basically I'm going to go to my first record, I'm going to set this field with the value client, and then I'm going to go to the next record. So what I could do is I could choose this go to record request page, I could add this one, or I could just copy this one, Control C on Windows, then select this one and Control V, and now I have copied this line here. But I do have to change my specification here to go to the next record, and very important here, I want to exit after the last record. Okay, this is looking pretty good. I'm going to go to the first record, set a value in a certain field. I'm going to go to my next record, I'm going to loop and set the field again, and loop and loop and loop until it is all done. Good. I'm going to save this. I'm going to close. I'm not going to close this one yet. Let's see what happens if I run this script. So I have my looping script. I'm going to hit perform here. That's the little green play button, and boom. FileMaker ran through each and every single record and put the value client in the Autoenter client field. So basically, right from now on, every time I make a new record in this media activity table, this field will have the value client in there. And that's very important, because if I don't have a value in there, when we go to File, Manage Database, when I don't have a value in here, this relationship is not really going to work. So basically now, if I'm on the media activity layout, I will only be able to see in this contacts clients table occurrence, I will only be able to see my clients. So let's see how we need to make this work on our layout, because if I click here now, I can still see all my different contacts. We have to change our value list a little bit. We had a simple contacts value list. Let's hit this pencil here, and I'm gonna make a new one, and I'm gonna call this one clients only. And now I'm going to use values from a field, but very important, I'm not going to be using my contacts table occurrence, but my contacts clients table occurrence. I'm going to use the ID, because I always want to store an ID in this field, but I'm also going to display values from a second field, and that's going to be my C full name field. An important setting here, this one is one we use all the time, show values only from second field, because in my drop down I only want to see the names and not the IDs. But here is a tricky thing you need to do to make this work. I want to include only related values starting from my media activity table. That means I only want to see my clients. Let's hit OK, OK, OK. Pretty exciting. Let's see if this actually works. Aha! In my client here now I can only see Johnny Depp and Julia Roberts. That is basically because when you go to File, Manage Database, in my media activity, in the Autoenter client field, we have the value client. The value client is equal to the value client with a few of my contacts. So basically those are the only ones I am seeing now in my drop down. So this was a first table occurrence with a special relationship here, and that's the reason why we make these multiple table occurrences, is that so we can make different kinds of relationships. We're going to make a few more in a minute, don't worry. So I can select Johnny Depp. An annoying thing right now is I've just selected Johnny Depp or Julia Roberts here, and there's a number that shows up. That's kind of annoying. There are a few ways that you can go around that, and I will show you a very simple one. We can add a text here, and that text could be an insert merge field, and we can go to the... No, we can't do that yet. Hold on a second. Or no, that's not. I'm running ahead of myself. There is no relationship right now between this contact ID field and our contacts table. So what we're going to need to do first is we're going to select this one, hit the green little plus sign, and I'm going to drag this one here. I'm going to relate my contact IDFK here with my contacts 2, and I'm going to double click here because I want to rename this to contacts, and I'm going to write media activity. Alright, that's better. Now we have a relationship between our contacts field and another table occurrence here, and let's place them a little bit like so and like so. So now it becomes really important to really name your table occurrences a bit correctly, because otherwise very soon you will have a bunch of them and you won't know which one is doing what. Okay, so where we were going to add a text. It's going to be an insert merge field, and now it's important to select the correct table occurrence. This is going to be my contacts and media activity, and then I'm going to use my C full name here, which is my full name calculation, and I think I may have made a bit of a very long looking text field here. Let's drag it out like this, and let's align it a little bit. It's a bit funky looking. Yeah, this is going to be better. Okay, let's try and find out what this does. Aha, this is already displaying Julia Roberts, so I can select Johnny Depp, and then I can see here the name Johnny Depp. That's already better, but it's not really perfect yet, because I just don't want to have to deal with this number 5. I don't care about number 5. So I show you a little trick that you can do. Let's get rid of this merge field because I don't want it. What we could do is we could take this field and we can use like we did before. We can hit Control, then we can drag this over here and let go. Now I have made a copy, and now FileMaker is asking me to specify which data do I want to see here. What I want is from my contacts media activity field, I want to see the full name, and I don't want a label. So basically now what we've done is we've copied this field, and we have we're using it to show data from a different table. Let's see what this does. We select Johnny Depp. Yes, okay, it shows our name here. But this is not really handy yet. We would kind of want to combine these two. So what are we going to do? We're going to change some settings, and we're going to put them on top of each other. So this one, that is going to be showing the ID, is going to be in the background. What I want from this one, I'm going to go into my inspector, I'm going to choose data, and I'm going to set this one in browse mode. Under behavior you have field entry. I'm going to allow field entry in browse mode but not in find mode. And for this one I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to allow field entry not in browse mode, but I am going to allow it in find mode. And then one more thing to change is the control style for this one. Does not need to be a drop down list, it needs to be a simple edit box. Now if we select the two of them and we align them together using our align tools, and I think it needs to be aligned down, so now they are perfectly on top of each other. Let's try out and see what happens. I can select Johnny Depp, and if I do, I see Johnny Depp and I do not see his ID. I only see it for a moment here, but that doesn't really matter. That doesn't bother me so much. So I can select the name and I can see this name, and it's kind of perfect. If I would like to add a little bit of information for this contact, then I could add it here if I want. Let's go to edit layout. I could either add fields or I could add merge fields, but let's add a normal field. Let's add a field here, and let's say I sometimes have to call these people, so I'm gonna have to, from the contacts media activity table, I'm going to select the phone here. There, I'm gonna put that here, and I don't think I have a phone number entered for this person, but if I want I could enter it here. Let's say that this one is 555 whatever. And then if I choose Johnny Depp, I can give him another 1, 2, 3, 4, something of a phone number, like so. So now if we select a person, you can see their phone number shows up immediately right there next to it. And this phone number is stored if you go to your layout contact. If you go to your Johnny Depp, the phone number is stored here. So you can basically add and change information on this table from another table. So you can just put this field on another layout based on another table. So that's pretty handy and can be pretty convenient sometimes. Okay, so we can select now our clients. Right now we're going to want to select a media company, and that's basically going to be the same trick as the one we did before with the client here. This it needs to show us all the companies of our media contacts. So what are we going to do? File, manage database. We're going to add another field, and it's going to be exactly the same as this one, Autoenter media contact. It's going to be a text. We're going to go in here, data. This is going to be media contact. Okay, and if we go back to our tables here and our media activity, we modify and we add this field. Then we will see again that this is empty. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to script, manage script. We're going to open our looping script. We're going to go and change the settings here, and this one needs to say not client now but media contact. Okay, let's save that. Let's save this. Let's run this script, and it's all nicely filled in. Our second field is, and if I make new records now, they're always going to have this data entered there. Okay, let's go back to our layout here. Let's go to File, Manage Database. What we're going to need, as you can guess, another table occurrence. We need another table occurrence with a different relationship to, so we can kind of filter out and show all our media contacts, because we're going to need to make a value list based on that. So contacts, our double green plus signs. Let's make this one contacts and media contact. Now we make a relationship between the Autoenter media contact and the type, so that basically from here on in this table occurrence we can only see our media contacts. More of the same of what we just made. Let's hit OK. We're going to go and edit our layout. Under media company, we're going to make a new value list. It's going to be a drop down list. We'll make it new and we're going to call this one media companies. Did I type that right? Yes, media companies. Use values from a field. Pay very close attention which one. It's going to be media contacts. Let's select this. In this one we're going to store the media company name immediately, so let's call this one, let's use company here. Very simple. Let's include all values. Yes, sure. Okay, let's see what happens here. I think we only had one media contact from the BBC. Let's go ahead and let's add another one. Let's make a new record for a media contact from the company, let's say HBO, for instance. Mr. Perry Smith. There. Let's give him an address and a phone and an email. There. So we have another media contact from another company. Let's go back here and let's see media company. We have BBC and HBO, so we have two different companies. That's already nice. Let's go ahead. I can select one here. I can select a media company. So basically I have a client that's going to have an appointment with a media company. Now here in my next field I would like to select a contact, but I would only like to see those contacts that work for the BBC. How do we do that? Good question. Yes, okay, I remember now. Let's go to File, Manage Database, and what we have right now in our media activity table here, we have just set the media company. We've set a value there, so basically we're going to want to make a relationship between this media company and then the company here. So you can guess what we're going to do. We're going to make another new table occurrence. We're going to change the name and we're going to try and come up with a name that tells us what this one does. Let's call this one selected company, something like that. Selected media company, so that we hopefully then still know what this does, what this is doing here. We're gonna make this a little bit bigger, and basically what we're gonna do here, we have a media company here and we have a company here, so that when we select a media company here, then in this table occurrence we will only see the contacts from that company. Okay, and then we are going to have to add one more table occurrence, because we're going to want to select a media contact here. We're going to store his ID here, so we need to relate this one to another table occurrence of that one. Starting to look a bit complicated, but this is really the best way to organize your stuff. Contacts, media contact on media activity. So try and find some names that kind of explain to you what's going on. Media contact ID FK is going to be connected to media contacts there. So if you want, you can organize them a little bit better so that you can kind of see what's going on. You can put these like so and these like so. And if you really want to keep stuff organized, you could start adding labels as well. If you go to the bottom here, you can choose this A sign here, and then you could add text, for instance, that explains this one shows the media contacts, for instance, so that you can kind of keep track of what it is that's going on here. Let's move on. And what are we going to need here? We're going to need two two things here. First of all, a drop-down list that shows me only media contacts from that media company. Very simple. Let's go to our drop-down list. Let's make a new one, and let's call this one media contacts of a selected company. Let's use the values from a field, and again pay attention. Which one do we need? I think it was this one. I'm not even sure anymore myself. I'm going to store the ID, but I'm going to display the full name. I'm going to show only values from the second field, and I'm going to include only related values starting from my media activity site. I hope I picked the right one. Let's just see what happens here. From the BBC we have John Doe, and if we select HBO then we have Perry Smith. So that seems to be working pretty well. Let's do a little test here. Let's make a new record. Let's do HBO again. And if you want, for this kind of stuff, you can do type ahead. If you go to edit layout and in the company you say autocomplete using existing values, then normally speaking, if you enter a value, let's try that, let's enter H. See, I just entered the H and the BO already shows up. That way you always have the company with the same name, because maybe you're going to spell it differently the second time you type. So this is a handy little feature as well. Let's do Miss Penny May, and let's add an address. 12 Main Street. I think I already used that one, but it doesn't really, oops, doesn't really matter. Okay, let's go back to our media activity, and I think it was under HBO that we made two. Okay, I have Penny May and Perry Smith. So basically I have my multiple contacts, and again you can see this ID showing up, so we can go back again to this one. We're gonna copy drag this one over here. This is going to come from our contacts, media contacts, if I'm not mistaken. No, I think it's this one. Wow, I really have to pay attention to my names that I'm using. Contacts, media activity. Okay, I think it's this one. Let's see what happens here. This needs to be my full name. I don't want a label. I want to set this one to be to a field entry only in find mode but not in browse mode, and I want this to be an edit box, and this one is going to be browse mode not find mode, and voila, let's align them together. Let's put this one like so. Let's see what this does. Perry Smith, Penny May. Yes, this looks like it's working nicely. Okay, so I can select my client, I can select my media company, I can select someone from that media company, and now if I want, I can edit my layout. Let's make this one a bit bigger. I can make some room here, and I could start adding some fields from my media contact as well, some extra information. Let's add some fields here. Let's see, from my contacts, media contact, media activity, I think that's the correct one. Let's add this person's phone, and let's add this person's email. Let's create a label. You can always add a label later on by double clicking like so. Phone, email. Let's see if that works. I've got my John Doe, john@doe.com, and I've got no other ones for BBC. Let's select HBO and select Penny May. This one doesn't have any information. Okay, this one does. So now I've got some other information from another table that's displaying on this table, and that can be edited as well. So that's good, and these again are very simple, very basic fields that I can, let's make this a drop-down calendar, and let's make this a little more narrow. And then the status and the story. If you want the status, you can add checkboxes or radio button sets as well. This one is a nice drop-down. And voila, I think that's about it, the stuff that I wanted to show you guys. You can do way more with this if you want. You can start making list layouts and stuff like that. But for now, a few interesting techniques, I think, that we've tried out, and that should have learned you a little bit. So, file managed database, very important to pay attention here to your table occurrences and to name them with a good name, which I might not have really done. but try finding good names so that you know what's going on and what's what. Maybe one other interesting thing that I was just thinking of that we could add is, now that we have our contacts, we create media activities for these contacts. Maybe we can do this a slightly simpler way. Let's go to edit layout, let's make a button. I think we have buttons here somewhere here. I don't use that very often, I usually use images, but let's create a button here and let's make it perform a script. What we're going to want to do is, when we are looking at a contact details and this contact has a media activity, then let's automatically create a media activity for that specific contact. Very simple. We're going to perform a script, hit specify, we're going to make a new script, and this new script is called create media activity. So what do we want to do? Basically, very simple. We want to go to the media activity table, we want to create a new record, and we want to set that record to be related to this contact, the contact that we came from. So basically what we need to do when we start off is, first we need to remember this contact's ID, and we do that by setting a variable. A variable is kind of like remembering a certain value from a certain field. So we use set variable, we go to the specify box here, we're going to name this variable, and this variable is going to be named contact ID, and if we go down to value, you can see that a $sign shows up here. A variable always starts with a $sign, and we can copy this one because we're going to need it later on. And our value for this variable, so the value that we want to remember, we can specify this will be the contact ID, because we start from the contacts table. It's going to be the contact ID. Very simple. The name of the variable is $contact ID, and it's going to be our contact ID. Okay, so the set variable kind of remembers our contact ID. When we have remembered our contact ID, we can go to the other layout. So we can use a go to layout, and here we choose layout. We want our media activity layout. We want to go there. Then when we arrive there, we want to create a new record. I think that's under records here. We do new record requests, and then we do a set field. That's a little higher up. I think that is here somewhere. Also under fields, set field. We're going to specify which field we want to set. By that time we have gone to the media activity layout, so we're going to go here. We're going to set this field, the contact IDFK field, with the value that we're going to paste is our $contact ID, so the variable contact ID. Okay, does this look good? Maybe just to be sure, we want to add a commit record requests step, just so that this field, that this set field step gets committed and this value is actually saved. We're going to do this perform without dialog, but that's actually not really necessary. Create media activity, the name is good. Okay, sounds good. We've got a new script that we just created. Okay, and now that I've done this, I have my cursor blinking here in my button. I can set a text in my button, and the text is going to be create media. How is it called? Media activity. Create media activity. Okay, when we hit enter, we have created our button. When we exit the layout, we can see that this button, it doesn't show a hand, and I don't like that. So let's go to the button setup and let's check this one here, change to hand cursor, and let's see what happens. We are on our HBO Miss Penny here, who is in fact a media contact. I didn't check this one. I only want to make media activities for my clients, so I'm going to scroll over to this one, Johnny Depp, or let's choose, yeah, I've only got one client here. Oh, I have Julia Roberts as well. I have my Julia Roberts client, so let's create a media activity. Let's see what happens. We arrive in our media activity layout. We now have a second record because I only had one media activity before, and it's immediately set to be for my client Julia Roberts, and now I can enter other information for these other people here, or I can select a media company and a media contact. So this is a tiny little script to make it easier for me to select to select a or to create a media activity. Now if I want to make it easier for me to go back to, for instance, this Julia Roberts detail page without needing to do this, I can make a little button here. I'm going to do insert picture, and I should have a picture somewhere. I think I have a little arrow that goes to the left. I'm going to set this next to our name here, and I'm going to go to button setup, and I'm going to use a very interesting one here called go to record request page, or in short, this is GTRR, go to record request. And this is a very interesting script. You can use this to go to another layout and to that specific record, so to our Julia Roberts record. If you want to know, let's cancel this for a second, because I have to first find out exactly which table occurrence I'm going to have to use here. I'm going to need to use the table occurrence that is related to my contact ID FK field. So I have to use my contacts media activity table occurrence. So let's go back here, let's go to button setup, go to record, go to related record. I think I picked the wrong one before. I'm going to go to a related record. I'm going to specify which one. I'm going to go to get the related record from my contacts media activity, and I'm going to go to the layout of contacts. Oh no, that's the wrong one. That's my table. I'm going to use my lay contact. Okay, so let's see what that does. And I'm going to make another little tooltip as well that says show details for and I'm gonna put this in brackets, and I'm gonna hit this little pencil, and I'm going to write show details for contacts media activity. Is that gonna be the right one? Let's try it out. Let's see what gives. I need to put an operator there. Let's see what happens when we do this. Show details for Julia Roberts. Perfect. If we click this one, we arrive at the Julia Roberts. Even if we change this one, we'll put it on Perry Smith. We go back to this layout, we hit this one, and we arrive back at Julia Roberts. So that's a handy way to go back and forth from the one layout to the other without needing to search for a specific record, for a specific contact. What we could also add here, we have our notes and our tasks. Because we have a bunch of media activities now, we could add another portal that displays all our media activities, and then we could go also directly to a specific media activity from the list. So let's try that out as well. Let's double click this one so we can add another tab, activity, and let's create this one, and then we have a new tab. The thing is, we can only put in our media activity if our media activity is related to our contact, which is not yet the case. File manage database, we can see we have contacts. That's the layout we're working on right now, but this contacts layout is not yet related to our media activity. We could create a relationship from here to here, but like I said before, it's going to create a mess really quick. So what are we going to do? We're going to select media activity. We're going to select this one as well. No, not this one. We're going to need this media contact one as well later on. So I'm going to select both of these. I'm already thinking ahead. So let's copy these. I'm going to put them here. I'm going to rename them a little. Media activity underscore contacts, and this one is going to be contacts media activity. Wow, what a name. Contacts portal. Maybe it's interesting to make somewhat simpler names, but they need to remain clear for you. Let's make a relationship between the contact's ID and the contact ID of this one here, and I think then we could get started. Let's try something out. Okay, we have made a relationship between our contacts and our media activity, and we have our media contacts who also have an ID here. they are also related to this one, so that we could go back here, make a portal, make it like so. Then we have to choose which records I would like to show, and I'm going to show the media activity contacts portal here. I'm going to allow deletion. Am I going to allow deletion here? Yeah, sure, why not? Show vertical scroll bar, okay. Which ones am I going to add? The media company, media contact, date and status, and story. And that's about it. One thing, let's exit the layout. I'm gonna first quickly create some labels for this as well. Media company, let's align this one. Whoops, I don't want this. Media contact, date, status, and story. We gotta align these a little bit so it looks a little bit decent, like so. And then let's check it out what this does in our media activity. For Miss Julia Roberts or Mrs. Julia Roberts, I have one media activity with the BBC with a contacts ID. So what we have here, and that's why I was thinking ahead, I'm now showing the contact ID. I don't want that, so let's double click this one. Let's see, we need this one, and we're going to want to use the full name. And that's better. So that shows that Julia Roberts has a media media activity with the BBC, with the John Doe. These things hadn't been filled in by me, but I could fill them in if I want. And what we can do now, let's just add something here. And what we can do now, we can go to Edit Layout, and we could maybe create a go-to related record step. Let's try and see if that works, because actually I'm thinking now, I'm not even sure if that's going to work. Go get related record from media activity contacts. Let's try, because I don't know what this is going to give. Let's see. Oh yeah, seems to be working. So basically that's a good way to flip back and forth from Julia Roberts back to what I always do is when I make a button, I make it a little bit of a hyperlink color with an underline so that you can see that it's a button. And then, so I can go back and forth between this one, and brings me to the layout on the correct record. And if I, for instance, go back to Johnny Depp, then I have other media activities here, and I can click this one, goes right back here. So that way you can go back and forth by using the go to related record script step to go to another record, to a related record on another layout. So this is handy. I can see all my media activities here, and I can create a new one, and I can see them listed on this portal. So, well, you can take this a lot further if you want as well. You can make automatic notes when a task has been completed. You can take this and just go really far with this. Well, I think that's about it. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to leave me a comment. And you can also go to, if you like some more in-depth information, you can go to filemaker.com. And you can go to, I think, support. Under support you'll find forums, and there you can find the FileMaker forum where people can really help you if you have any more in-depth questions or any problems that you might be dealing with. So go to the FileMaker forum and feel free to search around. Maybe other people have had your problem already before, or just basically start a new thread and ask your question there. Alright, see you!